The order for administrative closing in a conservatorship estate. Hi, I'm Darren Findling of the Probate Pro, and we're going to examine SCAO Form PC 671. SCAO for State Court Administrative Office, PC for Probate Court. This form, as well as any of the other SCAO forms, can be readily obtained from our office. We'd be happy to give you one free of charge. It's used in a very narrow context. This is a conservatorship. So somebody has already been appointed on behalf of another individual as the conservator, and something has gone wrong. They have failed to perform their role in some way that necessitates the conservatorship to be administratively closed. So this is different from when a conservator proceeds to close the conservatorship estate. This is being done by the court. The court is administratively closing the conservatorship estate for a particular purpose. With all of these SCAO forms, they're created by various statutes and or court rules. And in this particular one, you can see from the floating arrow, MCR Michigan Court Rule 5.144 is the controlling court rule. With all of these SCAO forms, we strongly urge you to work with a skilled, competent probate lawyer to understand how to navigate through these processes. Of course, this particular form is a great example of where you can get yourself into trouble, because now the court is administratively closing a conservatorship when it should have been closed out appropriately by the conservator. Now, let's walk our way through this particular form to understand how it's used by the court. Again, as you can see from the title in the red box, it is an order. This is an order issued from a probate court judge for a conservatorship file, which closes administratively the conservatorship. So again, it's very important that if you receive one of these in the mail, that you know how to take action to both prevent it from occurring as well as how to respond when an order is issued administratively closing a file. Top left corner identifies the county, top right corner the case number, pretty intuitive, and then of course the estate name. And again, people get confused because the word estate of, or the words estate of, does not necessarily mean a deceased estate. It can also mean a conservatorship estate. So the name of the individual upon which the conservatorship is involved is identified there, as well as the date of the hearing, and then the judge that made or issued or entered this particular court order. Below, you'll see the court findings here. Now, subsection 2, the checkbox says notice of suspension was given as required by MCR 5.203D. This particular court rule identifies that the court can take action when a conservator has failed to perform their role. And when a conservator has failed to file their annual accountings and keep the court apprised of their responsibilities, the court can take action. But before the court takes action, the court has to give a suspension notice. So usually they give a notice of deficiency, which is a process that we've explained in another video, a notice of suspension of their role as the conservator, and then of course this order to administratively close the conservatorship would then follow. So usually they give you a reminder notice, a notice of deficiency, a notice of suspension, and then the administrative closing. So a lot of warnings before you get to this particular point. Section 3, or item 3, says the conservatorship should be administratively closed. And here are the findings of the court. Either A, because there are insufficient assets in the estate to employ a successor or special fiduciary. So what does that mean? Well, the conservator has failed to perform their role, but the amount of money that remains in the conservatorship is so small, so de minimis, that it doesn't warrant appointing a new person, what we'd call a successor conservator, or a special fiduciary appointed by the court to perform a role. The other section could be that there is other good cause to administratively close it. So lots of other reasons could be employed here, but typically the court will appoint a successor or special in the event that there are still assets that require management, but that the primary or the conservator who has been appointed by the court has failed to perform their role. So the court doesn't want to just close the conservatorship and leave everything locked away or put in limbo, but rather appoint a successor to be able to carry on the role. Here, the court is identifying that there is either good cause to close the conservatorship or the amount of assets that are remaining in there are so small that it doesn't warrant appointing a successor or a special fiduciary. The bottom section identifies the court order, and it simply repeats much of what was stated above, that the conservatorship is administratively closed in accordance with the Court Rule MCR 5.144A, and that the administrative closing does not release the conservator from liability. Now, this is an important consideration because if the conservator has stolen or made a mistake, or there's been something in relating to their particular duties, this order doesn't terminate or use the term discharge their liability. The liability still is open-ended until the court makes a determination that they're either discharged or, if they've done something wrong, that they may be surcharged for their role. So again, effectively bookending the beginning to the end of this entire process is really critical. And that's why we urge you to always be working with a skilled, competent probate practitioner, somebody who understands the nuances of the various statutes, understands the process. This stuff is not intuitive. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to understand how to navigate through the conservatorship process. And this form is proof positive that you can get yourself into a whole heap of trouble if you fail to effectively administer a conservatorship. At the Probate Pro, we're passionate about everything probate. If you have a question about a conservatorship or any probate or trust related issue, visit us at theprobatepro.com or call us at 1-833-PROBATE.